หังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามาเสนมัสการครับพระอาจารย์สวัสดีครับพระอิงธรรมธรรมสรโนมาละ2 ตัวไม่อยากจะ is a mosquito both mosquito love you you know if they do not love you they will not come to you so spread loving kindness to mosquitoes say my good friend I am painful when you bite me so please go to drink something on the tree that were more sweet than my blood my beloved friend like that okay today we are going to study how to apply Dhamma in daily life and today I think we would start with activities that is very important in our daily life. Without these activities, our life cannot be well. And if we can provide this activity very well, we can make it clean. It can be like heaven. When you go and sit, sometimes you enjoy reading and practice meditation. Now we are going to listen from Phra Ing Tham Thamma Sarano. What is activity? Let us read now.
Cleaning the bathroom.
Okay, great.
How wonderful it is to scrub and clean.
Is it wonderful? Okay.
Day by day, the heart and mind grow clearer. Most of us do not like cleaning the bathroom, but when we work in full awareness of the present moment, we can find purity in each act. To purify means to become clear and calm. Cleaning the bathroom, we clear and purify our environment and ourselves. In centers for meditation practice, often there is a vase of flowers in every bathroom. The bathroom is as important a place as the meditation hall for practicing mindfulness. In fact, the bathroom is another meditation hall. So we offer a vase of flowers there. Flowers arranged with skill and care remind us we can live in such a way to clarify and calm our hearts and minds. I hope you will put a vase of flowers in your bathroom.
Okay, show this one and this one. Okay, clear. Okay, good. This is the bathroom.
Oh, ไม่ใช่ sweeping ไม่ใช่ bathroom. It's for the next one.
Yes, sweeping. Okay. As you have done this morning, when you are sweeping, you are mindful, and sweeping is becoming wonderful and miracle. So before breakfast today, you have done what is wonderful and miracle around the temple. You can be proud of this great merit. Your mom can congratulate or rejoice for your great merit done this morning by sweeping, right? Mindful sweeping, mindful blowing too. It's a blowing. It's a mindful. Mindful blowing, mindful sweeping, and mindful eating, mindful having breakfast. Did you enjoy having breakfast this morning? Do you have mindful? And after that, you practice mindful cleaning dish, right? How many dishes you clean?
ไม่รู้
And did you clean your mind? Because before you say, oh, I'm cleaning, I will clean on dishes, your mind become very beautiful because you are volunteer with your compassionate love, merciful mind, axis, and you work like Bodhisattva. In Buddhism, we can be everything from moment by moment. When you are watching, you think about the other suffering. You think about Ajahn Narong suffering to be hurry to go to school, and you cannot endure about his suffering. You can say, okay, may I watch your dish. This is the word of Bodhisattva, the great being who owns loving kindness and merciful mind. So you talk about watching bathroom. It's very interesting. He point that bathroom is a great room for meditation, great room for mindfulness, great room for cultivation of mindfulness, great room for cultivation of awareness. Then it's very necessary for us to provide that environment or surrounding in a good condition that ready to welcome everybody to go and sit and enjoy poo-poo or pee-pee or take or shower. Okay, go on.
Sweeping. As I carefully sweep the ground of enlightenment, a tree of understanding springs up from the earth. The Gatha is based on 2 lines of Chinese poetry. Sweeping the floor of the monastery, the benefits of understanding are realized. The whole of the earth is the land of the Buddha. The path around our home is also the grounds of awakening. It is said that Mara, a spirit who represents delusion, offered the Buddha a parcel of land as large as the Buddha's robes could cover. But when the Buddha's robes flew up to the sky, it covered the entire earth with its shadow. So we say that the earth on which we stand, the earth in front of our house, and the earth that we cultivate all belong to the Buddha. In Vietnam, at the New Year, we put poles up in front of our houses to remind Mara how far Buddha's lands extend and to keep Mara out. Any ground we sweep in full awareness is the ground of enlightenment. True mindfulness always gives rise to awakened understanding.
That's good. And then it is very interesting that when you are sweeping the ground, you are aware that this is the ground for alignment. As long as you are working with mindfulness, awareness, you are with the Buddha. And on the contrary, if you are sweeping with laziness, you are with Mara. So you can have a choice in every work. Would you work with the Buddha by awakening, by awareness, by alertness, or by self-knowing? At the time you are working with the Buddha is with you everywhere. When you are with mindfulness, awareness, alertness, or loving kindness. So this is a way to practice. And on the ground or the earth that you walk with mindfulness and awareness, you are the real follower of the Buddha. And if you walk with greedy anger, if you walk with anger, you become giant. If you walk with 30, with the greedy, you become a hungry goat. So better to walk by mindfulness, awareness, and even every job. And when you drive the car on the earth, you go with the Buddha. So in Thai tradition, you see, they have about the Buddha statue. This is for reminding you to think of the Buddha, to recollect of the Buddha. Was the Buddha clean, clear, and calm the mind? Be called Buddha. Or when you have full awareness, you are with the Buddha. The Buddha confirmed that whosoever see the Dhamma, see me. Next lesson.
45. Watering the garden. Water and sun green these plants. When the rain of compassion falls, even the desert becomes a vast fertile plain.
Okay, this is metaphor, right? The rain of compassion. Wow. Go on.
Water is the balm of compassion. It has the capacity to restore us to life. The Bodhisattva of compassion is often depicted holding a vase of water in her left hand and a willow branch in her right. She sprinkles down compassion like drops of nurturing water to revitalize tired hearts and minds weak from suffering. Rain enlivens crops and protects people from hunger. Watering the garden, the compassionate rains falls on the plant. Our respect and gratitude for this gift of water helps us heal ourselves and transform even a desert into a vast fertile plain. When we offer water to plants, we offer it to the whole earth. When watering plants, if we speak to them, we are also speaking to ourselves. We exist in relationship to all other phenomena. As we water plants, we can speak to them. Dear plant, you are not alone. The stream of water comes from the earth and sky. We are together for innumerable lifetimes.
Okay, when you are watering, you are not alone. Why?
Because water has the ability to protect us from hunger. It waters our plants and it protects us from hunger by giving us crops.
Wow, it's like the great Bodhisattva. Because you protect people from hunger, you are very compassionate to make the plant grow. Oh wow, water is the symbol of loving kindness and compassionate love to protect, to save both plant and human being. When you are watering, you are going to do the great job for human race to protect the hunger. Have you ever experienced watering here?
No.
You can help Ajahn Narin one day before leaving, okay? You become great Bodhisattva who work with loving kindness to all plants, to all flowers. And then you see butterfly around here because you make butterfly enjoy flying around the flower. And if there's a bit of water, flower can't bloom, tree can't grow. So it's very beautiful metaphor. Even the Buddha compare or give the simile water with compassionate love too. Okay, go on.
The feeling of alienation so many people today has come about because they lack awareness of the interconnectedness of all things. We cannot separate ourselves from society or anything else. This is like this because this is like that is a phrase taken from the sutras, summarizing the principles of interrelatedness. To water plants and experience compassion and interconnectedness, is a wonderful practice in meditation.
You understand about connectedness? That's the word from a connectedness, right? Okay. It is flower, come from the blue sky, come from the water. It is connectedness. Okay, read.
Planting, I entrust myself to earth. Earth entrusts herself to me. I entrust myself to Buddha. Buddha entrusts herself to me. To plant a seed or a seedling is to entrust it to the earth. The plant takes refuge in the earth. Whether the plant grows well or not depends on the earth. Many generations of vegetation have grown bright and beautiful under the light of the sun to create fertile topsoil. This topsoil will continue to nourish generations of vegetation to come. Whether the earth is beautiful, fresh, and green, or withered and dry, depends on the plants entrusted to the earth. The plants and the earth rely on each other for life. When we entrust ourselves to Buddha, we take refuge in the essence of nourishment, the soil of enlightenment, enlightened understanding, love, and compassion. And the Buddha also entrusts herself to us, because awakened understanding, love, and compassion need each of us in order to germinate and flourish. How can these attributes continue to flower in the world if we do not realize them within ourselves? I entrust myself to Buddha is what we usually think. But let us also notice the Buddha is entrusting herself to become real within us, just as the earth and the green plants entrust themselves to one another.
Okay, read on. Yeah.
Picking a flower.
Okay, very beautiful. Picking a flower.
May I pick you, little flower, gift of earth and sky. Thank you, dear Bodhisattva, for making life beautiful. Whenever we pick a flower, we can ask permission, not only of the plant, but of the earth and sky as well. The whole earth and sky join to create this flower. Our gratitude to them must be sincere. A flower is a bodhisattva that makes life fresher and more beautiful. We too can offer gifts by being refreshing, compassionate, and happy. There's a well-known story in Zen circles about a flower. One day, the Buddha was holding up a flower in front of an audience of 1,250 monks and nuns. He did not say anything for a long time. A man in the audience named Makashakayapa smiled at him and at the flower. The Buddha smiled back and said, I have a treasure of insight, and I have transmitted it to Mahakayapa.
Mahakassapa. Kassayapa.
Mahakashayapa. To me, the meaning is quite simple. Be in touch with life in the present moment and look deeply into things that happen in the present moment. The person who was not thinking, who was just in himself, encountered the flower in depth and smiled. Arranging flowers. Arranging this flower in the Saha world The ground of my mind is pure and calm. The Saha world, according to Buddhist mythology, is the planet Earth, the ground for enduring hardships, sickness, hatred, ignorance, and war. Saha means moving and enduring. When we practice the teachings of the Buddha, we transform ourselves and set up a beautiful, pure land full of miraculous wonders here on earth. Arranging flowers is something we can do to help make life more beautiful. When we are mindful while arranging flowers, not only flowers become beautiful, but we become beautiful as well. When our heart's garden is calm and radiant, the flowers of our heart light the way. People around us will recognize the beauty of life and realize how precious it is to be alive. Smiling at your anger. Breathing in, I feel my anger. Breathing out, I smile. I stand with my breathing.
When you get angry, right? How to deal with, how to manage, and then you become the great manager of anger in the future. After you know this true knowledge of anger, read it.
When we feel angry, we should go back to our conscious breathing and refrain from looking and listening to the person we think should be the source of our unhappiness. We do not need to do or say anything. As we go back to our breathing and breathe according to the Gatha, we should be aware that it's our anger that is making us suffer, not the other person. Taking the first breath, reciting the first line of the Gatha is like looking ourselves in the mirror. As we see ourselves clearly, we know what to do and what not to do. The exhalation that follows will have the same effect. In anger, we tend to think the other person as a source of our suffering. We see evil in him. He is cruel. She oppresses me. He wants to destroy me. In fact, it is our anger that destroys us. So we must take good care of our anger. When our house is burning, we must first go into the house and try to put out the fire. It is too soon to go searching for the person who may have started the fire. That is what we see in the inhalation that goes with the third line of the Gatha. When we exhale, we recite the last line. Only loving kindness can take care of our anger. Only loving kindness can take care of the other person.
Go on
Washing-
until finish. Yeah.
Washing feet.
Mhm.
The peace and joy of one toe is peace and joy for my whole body. Family. We take our toes for granted. We worry about so many things, but we seldom think of our toes. If one small toe steps on a thorn, however, our body will feel the pain. Holding on one toe in our hand, we can feel its peace and joy. It has been a good friend. It is not broken. It does not have cancer. We can thank our toe for its health and well-being. Our toe and each cell of our body exists interdependently, not separately. If our body becomes ill and injured, the cause may be external, such as bacteria from contaminated food, alcohol in another driver's bloodstream, or a bomb dropped from a plane. If the sun were to stop shining, life on earth would cease. We must understand that our body also includes all of these things. The sun is our heart outside of our body. Our life and the life of all existence are one continuous life. The peace and joy of our small toe are the peace and joy of our whole body and mind, and the peace of joy of the entire universe. Once we identify with our toe, we can proceed further to identify ourselves with all life. Life comes from the whole universe. When we identify with the life of all that exists, we realize that the birth and death are minor fluctuations in an ever-changing cosmos. Driving the car. Before starting the car, I know where I'm going. The car and I are one. If the car goes fast, I go fast. If we're mindful when we start our car, we will know how to use it properly. When we are driving, we tend to think of arriving, and we sacrifice the journey for the sake of arrival. But life is to be found in the present moment, not in the future. In fact, we suffer more after we arrive at our destination. If we have to talk of a destination, what about our final destination, the graveyard? We don't want to go in the direction of death. we want to go in the direction of life. Life can only be found in the present moment. Therefore, each mile we drive, each step we take, has to bring us to the present moment. When we see a red light or a stop sign, we can smile at it and thank it because it is a bodhisattva helping us to return to the present moment. The red light is about mindfulness. We may have thought of it as an enemy, preventing us from achieving our goal, but we know the red light is our friend, helping us resist the calling us to return to the present moment where we can meet with life, joy, and peace. Even if you're not the driver, you can help everyone in the car if you breathe and smile. The next time you're caught in traffic, don't fight. It is useless to fight. If you sit back and smile to yourself, you will enjoy the present moment and make everyone in the car happy. The Buddha is there because the Buddha can always be found in the present moment. Practicing meditation is to return to the present moment in order to encounter the flower, the blue sky, the child, the brilliant red light. Recycling. In the garbage, I see a rose. In the rose, I see garbage. Everything is in transformation. Even permanence is impermanent. Whenever we throw something away, whether it is in the garbage can, the compost, or the recycling, it can smell terrible. Rotting organic matter smells especially badly, but it can also become rich compost for fertilizing the garden. The fragrant rose and the stinking garbage are two sides of the same existence. Without one, the other cannot be. Everything is in transformation. The rose that wilts after 6 days will become part of the garbage. After 6 months, the garbage is transformed into a rose. When we speak of impermanence, we understand that everything is in transformation. This becomes that, and that becomes this. Looking deeply, we can contemplate one thing and see everything else in it. We are not disturbed by change when we see the interconnectedness and continuity of all things. It is not that life of any individual is permanent, but that life itself continues. When we identify ourselves with life and go beyond the boundaries of a separate identity, we shall be able to see permanence in the impermanent or the rose in the garbage. Ending the day. The day is ending, our life is one day shorter. Let us look carefully at what we have done. Let us practice diligently, putting our whole heart into the path of meditation. Let us live deeply each moment in freedom, so time does not slip away meaninglessly. We can practice beginning anew at any moment of our lives. To be born is to begin anew. When you're 3 years old, you can begin anew. When you're 60 years old, you can begin anew. When you're about to die, that is still a time to begin anew. When we look deeply, we see that beginning anew is possible at any time of our daily lives, at any age. As humans, we make mistakes. Without these mistakes, there will be no way to learn to be more accepting and compassionate. We should not get caught in the prison of guilt. If we can learn from our mistakes, then we have already begun transforming garbage into flowers. It is always possible for us to begin anew so that our life is filled with meaning. When your life is meaningful, happiness becomes a reality, and you become a bodhisattva right here and now. A bodhisattva is someone who has compassion within herself, and who is able to make another person smile or help someone suffer less. Every one of us is capable of this.
Oh wow, one book. Oh, great. What do you think about the roads in the garbage?
I think it's a beautiful description of how life is impermanent and how even the most beautiful things can rot in and how the most rotten things can be beautiful.
It connected,
Yes.
interconnected. Beautiful thing can be supported by dirty thing,
Yes.
and dirty thing can make the beautiful thing.
So you should accept the dirtiness of life and accept the beauty of life.
Both dimension. It make us walk on the middle way because we can see both of them on the reality. We can accept, we can recognize even some bad situation in our life. If you confront bad situation, you can think, oh, this is the fertilization of life. It make you struggle. It make you stand to confront. It make you challenge. The more you challenge, the more potential would be increased. The more knowledge, the more methodology for you to overcome the chaos. So, in the dirty, it has some beauty, and in the beauty, sometimes it's dirty too. So, understand and how can manage in the proper way. Okay, we are flower, this the green one. The lesson inside. Yes. Are we flower? Right. Okay, show the flower first. You love drawing, right? This one. Good. Okay.
We are all flowers. In the Zen tradition, poetry and meditation always go together. Poetry is made of images and music, and images make the practice easy. Here is an exercise to help us practice of mindfulness that many friends have found inspiring and effective. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. In or out. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flower, fresh. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. Mountain, solid.
Solid, right? Very, very strong. The solid mean very strong, right?
Breathing in, I see myself as still water.
Mm.
Breathing out, I reflect things as they are. Water, reflecting. Breathing in, I see myself as space. Breathing out, I feel free. Space, free. All of us, children and adults, are beautiful flowers. Our eyelids are exactly like rose petals, especially when our eyes are closed. Our ears are like morning glories, listening to the sound
It's
of the birds.
beautiful metaphor again.
Yeah.
We are children and adult.
Are beautiful flowers.
We are beautiful flowers. So you cannot separate this is the young, this is the old, but we are together in the same garden. We are flowers. Great. Read.
Our ears are like morning glories listening to the sound of the birds. Our lip forms a beautiful flower every time we smile. And our two hands are a lotus flower with 5 petals. The practice is to keep our flowerness alive and present, not just for our own benefit, but for the happiness of everyone. You know that if you leave a flower out of water for several hours, the stem will dry out. When you put it back, it may be too late. It may not be able to absorb the water. To save the flower, you have to cut the stem again. If possible, allow it submerged so the water can flow into the cells right away. You can even cut the sides of the stem a little to help the water flow in laterally. Within a short time, your flower will bloom again. Each of us is a flower, but sometimes our flowerness is tired and needs to be revived. We human flowers need air. If we breathe in and out deeply and consciously, we will bloom right away. We can breathe while sitting, standing, lying down, or walking, and after just a few minutes, we will be fresh enough to share our flowerness with others. Our friends need us to be flowers, need us to be a flower. When they're sad, if they see us looking happy, they will remember to return to their own flowerness and smile again. We support each other. If we know how to revive our flowerness, when it is not very fresh, we provide a real community service. Meditation is to bring peace and joy and harmony to ourselves and others. Stopping is the basic practice of meditation. To keep our flowerness fresh, we have to learn to stop our worries, anxieties, agitation, and sadness so we can find peace and happiness and smile again. When things are not going well, it is good to stop in order to prevent the unpleasant, destructive energies from continuing. Stopping does not mean repressing. It means, first of all, calming. If we want to be the ocean of calm, we don't throw away its water. Without water, nothing is left. When we notice the presence of anger, fear, and agitation in us, we don't need to throw them away. We only need to breathe in and out consciously, and that alone is enough to calm the storm. We do not need to wait for a storm to begin to practice. When we are not suffering, conscious breathing will make us feel wonderful, and it is the best way to prepare ourselves to deal with the troubles to come. Breathing is the best way to stop unhappiness, agitation, fear, and anger. You can practice while sitting down, lying down, walking, standing, or in any position. It is especially pleasant to practice outdoor where the air is so refreshing. You can lie down or sit on the grass or walk slowly and breathe in and out, focusing your attention on each breath. Without thinking of anything else, you say silently, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. If you want, you can just say in as you breathe in and out as you breathe out. We know that those who have asthma only want to enjoy to breathe freely, and we remember how enjoyable breathing can be. Breathing nourishes us, and it can bring us a lot of happiness. Please practice in, out as many times as you wish, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, or more. It is essential for the practice of stopping, calming, and returning to our true home in the present moment. Then, when you feel ready, try the second verse. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. When you breathe in, say flower, and when you breathe out, say fresh. Even though we were born as flowers, after a lifetime of worry and anxieties, we may not be fresh anymore. We may not taking good care of our enough. We may have not taken good care of our flowerness. Practicing this verse, we water our flower. If we do it well, every cell in our body will smile, and in just 5 or 10 seconds, the time it takes to breathe in and out, we will restore our flowerness. We continue out until our flowerness becomes solid. When we see someone who is very fresh, we like to sit close to him. We know he knows how to preserve himself as a flower. With mindful breathing, we can also be fresh. Young people who have not suffered much are still beautiful flowers, the kind of flowers that can be a source of joy for anyone at a time. Just for breathing in and out and smiling, we too have a flower to offer. And the more we practice breathing and smiling, the more beautiful our flower will become. A flower does not have to do anything to be of service. It only has to be a flower. That is enough. A human being, if she is a true human being, is enough to make the whole world rejoice. So please practice breathing in and out and recover your flowerness. You do it for all of us. Your freshness and your joy brings us peace. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. This is best practice sitting on cushion on the floor, if possible in the lotus or half lotus position. These are very stable positions. The stability of your body will bring about the stability of your mind. It is helpful to choose a cushion that is right thickness to support you. To sit in the lotus position, place one foot for the half lotus position, or both feet for the full lotus position on the opposite thigh. If this is too difficult, you can sit in any comfortable position, but try to keep your back straight and your hands gently folded in your lap. If you prefer to sit in a chair, your feet should be flat on the floor and your hands on your lap. Or if you want to lie on your back, keep your legs straight and your arms at your side. Picture a tree in a storm. At the top of the tree, the small branches and leaves are swaying violently in the wind. The tree looks vulnerable, quite fragile. It seems it can break at any time. But if you look at the trunk, you will see that the tree is solid. If you look down to its root structures, you will know the tree is deeply and firmly rooted in the soil. The tree is quite strong. It can resist the storm. We are also a kind of tree. Our trunk, our center, is just below our navel. The zones of our thinking and our emotions are at the levels of our head and chest. When we are taking a hold of a strong emotion, like despair, fear, anger, or jealousy, We should do our best to leave the zone of the storm and go down to the valley to practice breathing in and out. If we stay in the winds of the storm, it may be too dangerous. We can go for refuge into the trunk, breathing in and out, aware of the rising and falling of our abdomen. Many people do not know how to handle emotions. When a strong feeling takes hold of them, they cannot bear it. They may even contemplate suicide. This is because they are caught in the heart of the storm, where they feel helpless. They feel that all of life is this one emotion, fear, despair, anger, or jealousy, and that the only way to end their suffering is to end their life. We have to practice conscious breathing so that we can learn to cope when difficult moments come and strong emotions take hold of us. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. Mountain, solid. If you're attentive to the rise and fall of your abdomen,
Solid.
you can help.
Go on, go on.
Okay. You can help it rise a little.
After you finish, I want you to describe about so many metaphors, but finish first. Okay, read.
I feel solid. I feel solid. Mountain, solid. If you're attentive to the rise and fall of your abdomen, you can help it rise a little more as you breathe in, and you can breathe in. You can bring it a little closer as you breathe out. Practicing like this for a few minutes, you will see that you're stronger than you thought. You are much more than your emotion. An emotion comes, stays for a while, and goes. That is its nature. Why should we die because of an emotion? It will always pass sooner or later. Go down in the trunk, hold onto it firmly, breathing in and out. After a few moments, your emotions will subside, and you can practice walking meditation, sitting meditation, or drinking tea in mindfulness. Don't wait for conditions to become adverse to begin. If you practice breathing in, mountains, breathing out, solid, daily, it will become a habit in less than 3 weeks. Then, when strong emotions come up, it will be easy for you to observe them until they pass. If you practice while lying down before going to sleep, you will go peacefully into your sleep. There is a mountain in you. Please get in touch with it. You are more solid and resilient than you think. Meditation is not to avoid problems or run away from difficulties. We do not practice to escape. We practice to have enough strength to confront problems effectively. To do this, we must be calm, fresh, and solid. That is why we need to practice the art of stopping. When we learn to stop, we become more calm and our mind becomes clearer, like clear water. After the particles of mud have settled, sitting quietly, just breathing in and out, we develop strength, concentration, and clarity. So sit like a mountain. So no wind can blow the mountain down. If you can sit for half an hour, enjoy sitting for half an hour. If you can sit for a few minutes, enjoy sitting for a few minutes. This is already good. Breathing in, I see myself as still water. Breathing out, I reflect things as they are. Water/reflecting. Near the mountain there is a lake with a clear, still water reflecting the mountain and the sky with pristine clarity. You can do the same. If you're calm and still enough, you can reflect the mountain, the blue sky, and the moon as they are. You reflect whatever you see exactly as it is, without distorting anything. Have you ever seen yourself in a mirror that distorts an image? Your face is long, your eyes are huge, your legs are really short. Don't be like that mirror. It is better to be like the still water on the mountain lake. We often do not reflect things clearly, and we suffer because of our wrong perceptions. In Being Peace, I use this example. Suppose you're walking in the twilight and see a snake. You scream and run into the house and to get your friends, and all of you run outside with a flashlight. But when you shine your light on the snake, you discover that it's not a snake at all, just a piece of rope. This is a distorted perception. When we see things or listen to other people, we often don't see things clearly or really listen. We see and hear our projections and our prejudices. We are not clear enough, and we have a wrong perception. Even if our friend is giving us a compliment, we argue with him because we distort what he says. If we're not calm, if we only listen to our hopes or our anger, we will not be able to receive the truth that is trying to reflect itself on our lake. We need to make our water still if we want to receive reality as it is. If you feel agitated, don't do or say anything. Just breathe in and out until you're calm enough. Then ask your friend to repeat what he has said. This will avoid a lot of damage. Stillness is the foundation of understanding and insight. Stillness is strength. The practice of stopping and calming contains in it the practice of insight. Not only the mountains, but everything, the trees, the wind, the birds, everything inside and around us, wants to reflect itself in us. We don't have to go anywhere to obtain the truth. We only need to be still, and things will reveal themselves in the still water of our heart. The refreshing moon of the Buddha is traveling the sky of the utmost emptiness. If the pond of the mind is still, the beautiful moon will reflect itself in it. Breathing in, I see myself as space. Breathing out, I feel free. Space, free. When you arrange flowers, it is good to leave space around each flower so that it can reveal itself in its full beauty and freshness. You don't need a lot of flowers, 2 or 3 are enough. We human beings also need space to be happy. We practice stopping and calming in order to offer space to ourselves, inside and out, and also to those we love. We need to let go of our projects, preoccupations, worries, and regrets, and create space around us. Space is freedom. One day, the Buddha was sitting with about 30 monks in a forest near the city of Vaishali.
Vaishali, yes. Vaishali, yes. Way or way, yeah.
Vaishali. It was early afternoon, and they were about to have a Dharma discussion, when a farmer came along, looking very upset. He said that all 12 of his cows had run away, and he wanted to know if the Buddha or the monks had seen them. He added that he also had 2 acres of sesame plants that had been eaten up by insects, and he said, "Monks, I think I'm going to die. I am the unhappiest person in the world." The Buddha replied, "Sir, we have not seen your cows. Please try looking in the other direction." After the man left, the Buddha turned to his monks and said, "Friends, you are very lucky. You don't have any cows." Well, I've heard this one before, I think, in the YouTube.
Yeah.
Our practice is to let go of our cows. If we have too many cows inside us or around us, we should let them go. Without space, there is no way we can be happy. We take care of so many things. We worry about so many things. We have so many projects we think that they are crucial for our happiness, but that is not correct. The more cows we release, the happier we will be. The refreshing moon of the Buddha is traveling in the sky of the utmost emptiness. It's the image of someone who has space and freedom, inside and outside. We can do everything, walking, drinking tea, talking, in a way that reclaims our liberty. We don't have to do things under pressure. We can limit ourselves to a few projects and do them with joy and serenity. We can resist being carried away by our cows. Our freedom and happiness are too important to sacrifice for the sake of these things. We must stop destroying our body and soul for the idea of happiness in the future. We have to learn to live happily in the present moment, to touch the peace and joy that are available now. If someone were to ask us, has the best moment of your life arrived yet? We may say that it will come very soon. But if we continue to live in the same way, it may never arrive. We have to transform this moment into the most wonderful moment, and we can do that by stopping running to the future, stopping worrying about the past, stopping accumulating so many cows. You are a free person. You are alive. Open your eyes and enjoy the sunshine, the beautiful sky, and the wonderful children around you. Breathing in and out consciously helps you become your best.
Blue
Calm,
sky.
fresh, solid, clear, and free. Able to enjoy the present moment as the best moment of your life.
Okay. Could you please tell me what did you find about the metaphor that you like from this reading?
I think the tree one, where he's talking about the tree has a trunk, it has its branches, and if you're imagine a very tall tree, and there was a storm going on, the branches are moving around, but the tree, the trunk, is very still and solid. If you were to imagine that, the storm that's happening, waving us around, is like life, throwing unexpected things at us. And if we were to live in the branches of the tree, then we will always be constantly being pushed around, unhappy and very agitated constantly, because we're never at peace with ourselves. constantly being drifted to one moment and drifted to another, you know, it's not a happy time. So if you were to let yourself and your emotions come down to the tree trunk where it's very still and stable, then we might find happiness in our lifetime by letting us just for a moment, instead of worrying about the storm that's happening on top of the branches, we come down to the root and the trunk, to the ground that is situated beneath our feet, and we plant our feet down to the ground, close our eyes, and meditate. That is how we ignore the storm in our lives. No matter how many storms life throws at us, we will be calm and free. There's another one.
About solid mountain.
Yeah, the solid mountain was also part of the tree metaphor. That's what he was talking about, being solid and still. If you were to, when we have unity between mind and body, if we allow our body to become still and our mind to become still, then we will live in the present moment like a mountain that is still and solid.
Still and solid,
Yeah,
like a mountain.
yeah. In order for us to live in the present moment, our mind must be still, our body must be still. That's why meditation is so important. We let go of everything. We sit down. We don't do anything. And we just let our mind and body become one. Going back to the tree metaphor, I think it's very important. If you're always living up in the branches, you know, in the storm, going back to that metaphor, and you're constantly being swayed around and being agitated, then you will always be consumed by your emotions, your sufferings. And emotions, as the Buddha has taught us, is that emotions are fleeting. They're supposed to come and go. But if you're always consumed by them, they will never leave you. And people, when they are consumed by their emotions, they're always agitated, they're always sad, and they're always...
They never believe coming and going.
Yeah, they never believe coming and going, or going back to the tree trunk. They will be forever unhappy. And some people, when they are very unhappy, they try to escape themselves. They try to flee themselves. And unfortunately, many people decide to commit suicide by doing that, to escape themselves, because they feel like suffering.
And what to do when we confront of that?
Yeah, and because they think that they have no way to escape their suffering. They're always in the branches of their life, right? So they think that the only way to escape their suffering is to end themselves. What Thich Nhat Hanh is trying to say here is that you don't have to be consumed by it. You can be a tree trunk in your life. The only way to become a tree trunk in your life is to plant your feet on the ground, or maybe sit down, or, you know, if you're sitting on a chair, plant yourself to the, you know, plant your feet to the ground. Sit yourself there, don't do anything, sit down, and you will become a tree trunk. You will not be consumed by your emotions. You will let it go. And by contrast, you know, for us monks, we sit on our, you know, bottoms onto the ground, and we plant ourselves there, and we feel calm because we become a tree trunk. And that's what Thich Nhat Hanh is trying to say, is that most people live their lives in the branches of their minds, but they never go back to their roots. You know, the ground, the earth. That's where the present moment is, and I think that's a very powerful one. The other one that I really feel inspired by is when he was talking about being in still water and reflecting.
Still water.
Yeah, because we are always, you know, and I think I experienced this myself personally, is that, you know, when you're consumed by your emotions and your prejudices and anxieties, you know, you distort everything you see. You can't enjoy the present moment. It's like, instead of being still and letting the clear water reflect everything as, you know, as you see it, the trees, the earth, the sky, it's all
It's
in
not
pristine,
beautiful.
It's pristine colors. If you let your mind be calm, then you will be the still water, and life will reflect all its beauties back to you. But if you're constantly, you know, in your thoughts, consumed by your prejudices, emotions, the water becomes distorted. You will not see things clearly at all. Everything will be, you know, a very bad picture. He gives the example of when you see a very very cloudy mirror. What you see is like exaggerated features of yourself. Your eyes are very big. Your head is very small, and your nose, you know, maybe
Chin.
your legs are too small. You know, everything becomes very distorted. You have a very distorted picture of yourself. So that's why he says, you know, when you're meditating, it allows the still water, you know, of your the still water in your mind to become calm, and you will reflect reality back as it exactly as it is, not what we think it is.
And could you please describe about flowers?
Oh,
He
yeah.
wrote about flower.
Yeah, the flowers. You know, he says that every one of us has a flower, you know, and that we are all
But
flowers.
now there's sometimes there's a problem. They have some discrimination between young generation, old
Yeah.
generation, and something
Everyone,
like that.
he says everyone old and everyone young,
Mhm.
you know, everyone has a flower in them. It's just whether or not we want to recognize we have a flower in us. A lot of the times, you know, he says that we let our flowers wilt in ourselves. We don't see ourselves as we truly are. So we let go of that flower because we don't come back to the present moment. The only time when we see our flower inside of us is when we come back to ourselves. So
Because inside we have so many flowers, right? When we are calm,
yes,
we see the flower inside.
yes. And he says, you know,
There's someone said, we are one. She said that. Beautiful. He raised a flower to be metaphor of the people.
There's a lot of good things here. I think the cow one is, I think
The cow one.
the cow one is really important to me because I think a lot of people in their lives, especially, I say this related to myself, is that we carry too many cows in our life. You know, we're always trying to pursue a new project or, you know, accumulate different things. There's a lot of worries that, you know, a lot of life is just full of things.
A lot of things bring a lot of worries,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of things brings us a lot of worries, and
Mhm.
you know, the more things we take on, the more cows we have. And Thich Nhat Hanh is saying, you know, just let go of those cows. You don't always have to be worried about everything. Let those cows go. Let your mind become clear, because only when you clear the shelf of your mind is when you see things very clearly. And I think that's
Okay.
very important.
And we can work step by step,
Yeah.
cut each piece by piece. Then we can finish everything.
I think it really resonates with me, and it's going to be part. A lot of what's said here is going to be part of my talk next week.
Mhm.
Oh no, this week now, this Sunday.
Okay, Sunday.
This Sunday, right? Yeah, this Sunday. So
Sunday.
if anyone feels like, you know, anything that was talked here resonates with them, I encourage you to come and come to the talk on Sunday, because I think it's going to be very good.
Okay, welcome everybody to listen the great lecture from 1:00 p.m. And thank you very much in order to show you pay respect the triple gem. You just sit, okay.
Oh,
Just sit that, okay. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Sawakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Saupatipanno Bhagavato Vakasangho Sanghang Namami
ขอบคุณครับพระอาจารย์
ขอบคุณครับลูกศิษย์ที่เรียนเก่งมาก ไม่หิวน้ำเลยใช่ไหม
ไม่อยู่นะ
ไม่ดื่มเลยต้องรีบดื่มแล้ว
ไม่
อย่างน้อย1 ขวดแล้ว
เดิมเยอะแล้ว
เก่งมาก กลายเป็น a flower you beautiful flower อาจารย์นรินทร์ also beautiful flower
Yes, beautiful flower. Loves watering flowers.
yeah and อาจารย์นรงค์ big flower